Connie Britton, you played Rayna Jaymes on Nashville. I just want to go straight to the big question because everyone wants to talk about this. So Rayna got killed off. It's a big deal. So talk us through how and why and how it all kind of panned out for you.
Well, yeah, Rayna got killed off, and that was intense. That was a big deal, for sure. We, it had been sort of there were a lot of different reasons for me that this felt like the right time to let this happen, and you know, some of them were personal, some of them were creative. But when the show changed over to CMT during the summer last year, we also had new showrunners, Marshall Herskowitz and Ed Zwick, and they came in and are great, and we're really very passionate about the show. But we had some long conversations about sort of moving forward with the show, moving forward with Rayna. And when I suggested this to them, they then kind of came up with along with Callie Corey, the creator of the show, they came up with sort of how we would do it, the timeline in which we would do it. And, to me, the most important thing was, first of all, that the show was in a great place. And it felt to me like with the transition from ABC to CMT is a great home for the show. And I mean, really, that's the key word. It feels like home, and a great fit. And clearly the fan base for the show was and is so passionate, because otherwise the show wouldn't still be on the air, because when ABC canceled it, it would be gone. So it was only because of the fans that the show came back, and CMT came in and was able to take it on. And so to me, that was really priority. I really wanted to make sure that the show was going to have a continued life. And our fans are so amazing. All the characters are so amazing. That was the other thing. I felt like, all these characters are so beloved that the show can continue on without Rayna. And there's something really interesting about playing, especially when you have a family that that the audience is so passionate about. There's something very interesting about playing a really substantial death, and we don't see that in television very often. And I think that in the world of storytelling, it's a very interesting story to tell. It's a very interesting story to see the different dynamics, the way it impacts people, and to really explore grief in that way. And so, but it was a very, it was tough, and it was a tough, the timing was difficult. And of course, for me personally, as we were leading up to that moment, there was so much emotion for me and for everybody in the cast and crew, because we are actually family, and there really was grief there. I feel very fortunate, because I actually do get to live on. So I also get to feel the gratitude of those people that I've been able to work with for 5 years, and that role that I loved, and this town of Nashville, which has become home. So it's been a journey for sure, and a journey that I'm just very grateful to have had.
Yeah, and I mean, you touched on this, but in the lead up to the big episode, because for people who haven't seen this most recent season or half season, Rayna's dealing with a stalker, which is really quite scary, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But just about the big death, the way that it happened at the end of that, I think it was episode 8, was really, really well done, but really quite terrifying. And then you spend an episode in the hospital bed, and then obviously Rayna is gone, and then we have to deal with the aftermath, the funeral, and how her family's dealing with the loss. How do you think that played out? Were you happy with the way that it all eventually played out?
Yeah, I was, I thought there were just so many beautiful moments in it, and I did feel, and I felt this way a lot throughout the series. In the end, I wish that we had, this is a thing with death, but it's also a thing with life too. It's like, I wish we'd had more time. Even in that last episode, I found the episode before where with the stalk, where Rayna's confronted by the stalker and all of that, that was really quite terrifying and very intense. And then all of the, the lead up to, when she gets into the car with the police and she's so devastated, and then the lead up to the big accident, which was a big deal to shoot,
I can imagine.
So, I mean, that was so technical that I didn't even really know what was going on. But, then that final episode, I think I wished in that we had, when we were even trying to figure out the timeline of it, it's sort of like the time period, the time in which Rayna arrives at the hospital and she has surgery, and then, all these conversations, and then her daughter and the choir come in and sing, and then suddenly she goes into ICU, and then she suddenly dies. It was kind of in like a 24-hour period or something.
Yeah.
Which was, for me, and I think for, the other actors too, it was a little bit difficult to play that with the level of reality that I really, really wanted to give those final moments and those final beats. And but we, we went for it. And for me, that tableau at the end where the girls and Deacon are lying over Rayna as she dies, and they're singing "Life That's Good," was just an incredibly powerful moment, and very, very deeply felt among all of us, and among the cast and crew, the rest of the cast and the crew as well. That was, there was definitely a really tough week of shooting when we were doing a lot of those scenes, because everybody was feeling it really deeply. And regardless of how you feel about Rayna, the idea of, a loving husband and their two young daughters losing a mother is a devastating thing to happen. So that was, it was a painful time.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I was sorry, I'm hearing echo. I'll just turn this. Are you able to turn me down on your
Oh, am I too loud?
Maybe.
You never know. What's happening? Wait, what do I turn down? What do I turn down? Like the volume of...
Yes, please.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my gosh. The volume of my computer, maybe?
I can't hear my voice.
It's on like halfway. It's on halfway.
Maybe go a bit further.
Okay.
Or actually, maybe, have you got headphones? I'm sorry to do this, but we just got this problem. Have you got headphones close by? If you don't, it's okay. We'll just...
Yes. Hold on.
Actually...
That can help? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'll edit this later. Yeah. Is it still happening? No. Testing. No, it's not happening now.
I have these little like earbuds.
Oh yeah, perfect. Sorry, I'm just being really bossy, but it's got to be perfect. Or I'll get into so much trouble. When it comes
to technical things, please feel free to be bossy. Where do I plug it in?
Yeah. Have you got a laptop or is it a normal computer?
It's a laptop.
So yeah.
Hold on. I see. Hold on.
Yeah. That's
hold on.
Yeah. There you go.
A normal computer. Is there such a thing as a normal computer anymore?
I've got one, but it's like a Mac, with the big Mac screen.
Oh, look. Oh, wow. Now you're so loud. Okay, now I'm going to turn it down.
Yeah, because that's what you
How's that?
Like. Perfect.
Is that better?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to do that so I know when to edit it. All right. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I was thinking, oh, yeah, this is just going to be one of those TV deaths and whatever, and it'll be very sad. But it really
You were? How
actually,
dare you?
I know, because I'm kind of have no emotions, but I thought you guys really pulled it off, actually, and I think all of us have experienced loss in our lives, and so you go to that place when you're seeing it on TV, and because it evokes something within you. That's what really good TV and film does. You guys pulled it off. I think
Thank you.
you did a really good job, and I must say, if you had to pick an episode as your highlight, and you're an old hat at this, picking episodes, right? And we'll talk about that much later. You'd probably pick episode 8, right? And that's the one where you have the climax of the story of the Stalker storyline, when it all kind of hits you, when you've been kind of rescued towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really going there, aren't you? It's not easy.
Yeah. Well, you mean an episode like throughout all the seasons, or just an episode?
Or just this particular season? What would you say is your highlight?
Maybe, yeah, probably so. That's probably true. I mean, I'd have to really think that through, but because of course, if I was really picking like one episode, I would want to go back and be like, but I want to make sure there's really good Deacon stuff in it, and good stuff with the girls, and stuff that really is representative of Rayna. But yeah, the Stalker episode was, I remember when Marshall Herskovitz told me about that idea, and that he really wanted to do it in a way where we were, it felt like a play, and it was a really long extended scene, which is another thing that you don't see in television that often. And so it was really fun for me to anticipate that, and to, because I love the theater, and it's really fun to be able to play things that feel like they have breath in them, and feel like they sort of have a life of their own. And that sort of dance, and also with the cameras and the director, and is so enlivening. It's so fun and challenging. And so, yeah, there was a lot about that I really loved.
Yeah. And you've also touched on how you'll miss your TV family, you'll miss Nashville, the city, you'll miss the character, but trying to dig deeper, can you think of anything else particularly about working on this show for 5 years, 5 seasons? What will you miss about mostly when you look back?
About the show itself?
Yeah, about working on it.
The music.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was the most unique part of doing the show, and the most challenging part of doing the show, and the most rewarding part of doing the show. And also, I am such a fan of working on location, even though I'm discovering it's a lot harder to do that when you have a kid.
Yeah.
But, I've been really fortunate to do 2 shows that were very location based. And, Friday Night Lights, it was imperative that we shot that in Austin, because Texas was such a character in the show. And the same was true with Nashville. In fact, I remember when I signed on to do Nashville, I was still talking to them about it. It was brought up to me, well, you can just, you could suggest that maybe they should shoot the show in LA, because I was a brand new mother at the time. And I said, this show could not be shot in LA. If the show is shot in LA, it won't be the show it needs to be, because we have to be in Nashville. We have to feel the presence of Nashville, and the life of the people in Nashville, and you have to hear the voices and the accents, and to really know this place. And then, of course, on this show, the music. I mean, all the music was written, or I'd say 98% of it, if not 100%, was written by Nashville songwriters and produced in Nashville. And there's no replacing that. We couldn't have done what we did with the music we performed live on the Ryman stage. We performed live at the Grand Ole Opry. So to me, to have had the opportunity to do that, it may be, and most likely will be, a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I'm just, that's what I'm going to remember and I'm going to cherish. I mean, it has given something to my life that is irreplaceable.
Yeah. You've not only have you brought a beloved character to life like Rayna, and you've also brought Tammy Taylor. Many of us still hold on to her dearly, but you are also one of the players on the Ryan Murphy shows. He's got about 50 new shows at the moment, and so you were on the first series of American Horror Story. You played Faye Resnick in American Crime Story. Do you have any plans to star in either of his upcoming new shows?
No, I don't. We just haven't talked about it. And, I keep sort of saying, like, tell Ryan I'm available. But, I love working with Ryan, and we have a great relationship. And I feel confident that when the right thing comes along, I hope he'll reach out. But at the moment, we don't have anything planned.
There's nothing, because there was some talk in our editorial office that perhaps you should ask him, maybe if you're all made up, you could do like Camilla on the new Feud with, the Princess Diana and Prince Charles thing. That would be perfect. That's our idea.
Okay.
Putting it out there. What do you reckon? Would you do that? Would you like Camilla?
Yeah, sure. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Wait, let's get Ryan. Hold on.
Can we get that done? Yeah.
I'm going to give him a quick text.
Yeah.
Maybe not right now.
All the hats. I think it would just be perfect.
I know. Well, I had so much fun doing Faye Resnick on the OJ show. I mean, that was just such a joy and such a blast, and also a really great challenge. And so, that's great.
What's it like playing a real person?
It is kind of scary because, particularly with Faye is such a public figure. And so, there's we have a lot of footage of her, and also in her case, there's a lot of, projection about who she is. So for me, it was trying to balance between, wanting to get her physically, and her mannerisms and her voice as closely as I could. But at the same time, I didn't want to be judging her, or I didn't want to take her on from the outside in. I didn't want to, get all the points of view of all the people who have commented on who she was at that time and who she's become and all those things. And so it was a delicate balance, because I really wanted to be able to embody her, but then also know that I was playing from a place where I would think that she might have been coming from, as opposed to what people might have anticipated or expected where she was coming from.
Yeah. I raised Tammy Taylor earlier because many fans of that show, of Friday Night Lights, just love her. There's something about Tammy Taylor, and I'm sure it's probably really made a big impact on your career. I'm just putting words in your mouth now, but I'd love for you to talk us through the impact that Tammy Taylor has made on your career, and why do you think people love her so much?
First of all, thank you, because I love her too. And I think that character for me was a huge turning point on so many levels. But I think one of the important levels for me that was a turning point was that I had actually played that character, or what that character was based on, in the movie Friday Night Lights. By the way, another real person that I was playing.
Right.
But when I took on the TV show, it felt like it could easily go into the world of very supporting, very one note, it could have gone into the world of not being a particularly fleshed out, complex character. And I was really afraid of that. And, the only reason that I decided to go for it was because Peter Berg, who created the show, really wanted for that character to give life to the women in that community that we hadn't been able to give life to as well in the movie. And so, but I didn't really trust that, you know. I mean, I'm no dummy. Like, what? Come on,
Yeah.
It's a show about football. It's a show about the coach of a football team. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I know what we're dealing with here, but you know, I think that happened at a time when, well, I just attribute it to a lot of things. I attribute it to really mostly great partners and great collaborators. Peter Berg really stuck to his guns. He really did want to give the women in that show a voice. Jason Katims then took it on and took it, you know, ran with the ball, if you will.
Yeah.
And Kyle Chandler, you know, and Kyle was just an amazing partner from day one. And everybody wanted these characters to be as multifaceted and real as possible. And, but I think, you know, in terms of getting back to your question about how that changed my career, I think for me, it changed it in a lot of ways because the character became something that a lot of women really related to, a lot of men related to as well, and felt was very accessible to them. But for me, it made me realize as an actor that we can really take characters to very deep places in the television arena and the television genre, and we can really give them life in a way that the audience feels and the audience can connect to, and particularly with women characters and with a woman character in what is quintessentially a man's world, to be able to do that and to discover that I could do that with the character with the help of all these people who were supporting that idea. It let me realize a lot about what we're capable of in our careers and in storytelling, and so and as a woman in the world too, you know, I think it also helped me to see that I could have a role outside of the characters that I play in terms of helping to empower women and to, you know, get into that side of things as well.
Yeah. And what was slightly frustrating about Friday Night Lights to begin with was that it wasn't getting the recognition from the Academy that many of us and critics thought it really deserved. And then suddenly it just really broke through with nominations for yourself and Kyle, and it ended up getting a nomination for Best Drama Series at the end, as well as winning for Jason Katims for the finale, and Kyle won that award, which was a really great moment. I remember seeing you on the show, and you obviously were so moved by that. Talk us through that particular night, the end of that show, big show at the Emmys, and finally getting recognition for the show.
Well, it was, you know, one of the things, there were so many great joys about Friday Night Lights, but one of them was we shot it in Austin, Texas. And, you know, it was always a little bit the little engine that could. And I remember NBC kind of didn't really know what to do with us. We didn't get amazing ratings. And so, you know, I think we sort of just let ourselves be in a bubble, and we weren't really worrying about all of those things that you're supposed to be worrying about. I mean, we really felt what it felt like to be out of the realm of all the Hollywood trappings in a way, you know, and we were just in Austin doing this show that we loved, and every day that we got to do it, we just felt really fortunate about it. So I mean, when you say that the critics were sort of, you know, resentful that the Academy hadn't noticed the show, you were probably more resentful than we were. You know, I mean, and also even in terms of ratings, I mean, there were, you know, every season we were kind of like, are we going to be able to come back? Are we going to have to say goodbye to each other? And then when we got to come back, we couldn't believe it. We were so thrilled, but we just sort of went on with it. And so then when there did start to be Academy recognition, it just felt like icing on the cake. And you know, it was just such genuine love for the show, and that show was just a pure example of collaboration. So, you know, Jason, you know, the show being nominated, Jason Katims winning for the, you know, we had such amazing collaboration from the writers to the actors to the crew members. Every single person felt empowered to do their job in a way that made the show better. So every step of the way, it felt like everyone had the opportunity to make the show better. And that's a great way to work. It makes everybody feel really wonderful about what they're doing. So
Yeah.
all the award stuff at the end felt like it was icing on the cake for everybody.
Yeah, really nice icing. And speaking of icing, I've got to say, like, there's really no way to underplay this, Connie. Like, you were nominated for 4 years in a row. And many actors get that opportunity when they're playing the same character on a series that goes for seasons. But you were able to get 2 nominations for FNL. Then you were nominated for American Horror Story. And then you were nominated for Nashville. Like, you've come such a long way. Like, you became a staple for us at the Emmys. And obviously that's because of the respect that you have in the industry, and people were really resonating with your characters. But talk us through that achievement. I mean, it doesn't happen very often.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that, except I really just consider myself the luckiest person and the luckiest actor in the world. I you know, and going back to what you asked about Friday Night Lights in terms of the career change, I mean, when I finished doing Friday Night Lights, you know, I had the opportunity for Ryan Murphy to come up to me and say, I want to do this show. And, you know, Ryan Murphy, who just has this brilliant mind, and he said, I want to do something where you're going to be playing something completely different from what you've played before. And it's the opposite side of it, and it's the dark side of it. And meanwhile, I was freaking out because I'm like, where do I go from Tammy Taylor? I mean, like, I mean, I was really in kind of a crisis, you know, what do I do now? And, you know, to be so fortunate to have Ryan Murphy come up and say, here's what you're going to do. And you're only going to do it for 1 season, because I've got this great idea where we're going to start doing these shows where it's just 1 season at a time. And, you know, it's an anthology series. Amazing. And so it was, because also, by the way, I'm the biggest scaredy cat in the world, and I couldn't imagine signing on to do 5 years of a horror story. No. So, you know, that was incredibly fortunate. And then to have Nashville come along, and, you know, with Callie Corey, who I had such immense respect for, and the whole music aspect of that. And I remember when I was thinking about it, I was terrified, but also thinking, well, if I'm ever going to do this, you know, play this kind of character and attempt to sing on stage, like, this is probably the time to be able to do it. And I wanted to, again, I just wanted to be able to stretch myself. So getting back to what you're saying, there are so many brilliant actors out there who don't have the great fortune to be acknowledged in that kind of a way as I have been. And, you know, they're also doing great work. So I am just eternally grateful and always grateful, and never take it for granted, because it's very, very gratifying to work so hard on something, and to really very consciously try to be stretching myself as an artist all the time, because I want to be able to play characters that can feel impactful to the culture, and to be able to do that and have it acknowledged in that way. And it doesn't happen all the time, but, you know, to have the opportunities that I've had to have that happen is just a gift.
Well, look, I hope I get to see you at the Emmys later this year for Emmy nomination number 5. You never know. But in any event, good luck, Connie, and thank you for chatting with us.
Thanks. It's so nice to talk to you. I appreciate it.